No one should doubt our commitment to responding as fast as we possibly can to this new and deadly threat of the Taliban, nor should they doubt the scale of our financial commitment to our soldiers and to this campaign. We are determined to provide our forces with the resources they need to keep them safe, and we are also determined to make the right decisions about equipment and about troop deployments as part of our wider strategy.
Hello. Today we're representing the UK's efforts and interests in Afghanistan. We will cover the past between the UK and Afghanistan, the UK's interests there now, their efforts in dealing with the drug issue, policing the Helmand region, developing a sense of national security, and reviving Afghanistan's economy. We will also cover the overall goals the UK hopes to accomplish during this occupancy.
The United Kingdom has always been a player in world politics, and its history includes conflict with the Afghanistan people. The First Anglo-Afghan War took place in 1839 to 1842. They took the country fairly easily and placed a puppet governor in charge, but this did not last long as the Afghans quickly overthrew them and the British pulled out. The Second Anglo-Afghan War took place several years later when the Russians sent a diplomat to Afghanistan, and the British, wishing to protect their interests in India, invaded Afghanistan a second time, but once again were forced to pull out after only a couple of years. The UK has in the past occupied the country of Afghanistan twice during the 19th century. The recent war in Afghanistan, however, has become a direct response towards acts of terrorism. This means direct military support, protecting the Afghanistan population, and finally defeating the insurgency to make way for stable and free states.
Other interests at stake in Afghanistan as well. These interests include the opium production, policing the Helmand region, reviving economic growth, and enhancing national security for Afghanistan and the nations around it.
Combating poppy cultivation is a major goal for the UK and Afghanistan. Afghanistan currently produces more opium than any other country. By reducing the poppy cultivation in Afghanistan, we could drastically reduce the world's opium supply.
There are several different ways at which the UK may be able to reduce the opium growth. First off is introducing saffron as a growable crop for such farmers. Whereas opium yields lots of economic possibilities, right now it gives Afghanistan more than half of its gross domestic product. It's harder to tell farmers in this more poor country to not grow something that will make money. Saffron, on the other hand, is used for spices, perfumes, and even herbal medicines. And also, saffron, being the most expensive spice, could potentially yield more money. There are drawbacks to using saffron, however, because it is a little more difficult to produce, and just as anything, a major shift in crop production is difficult to implement. Aside from this technique, there are several other techniques that may be implemented as well. First off, there's using the existing poppy plants to produce a medicinal supply of opiates, such as medical morphines, or to try and implement farming practices that include well-rounded and developed fruits and vegetables, such as pomegranates. Aside from those, there is always the option of eradicating all of the poppies or just turning a blind eye, whereas both of those yield the highest consequences.
On the issue of using the current poppy fields for raising an industry in pharmaceuticals, there are a few drawbacks that have been brought to the attention of the UK and other nations that have proposed this idea. These drawbacks include the fact that it still does not eliminate the possibility of illicit drug production. There are currently also no facilities available within the nation to start any production for pharmaceuticals or any kind of medicinal use. However, the same is true for the idea of saffron. There are currently no crops placed. It will require a major overhaul, eliminating all poppy fields. Of course, we could just do a rake and scrape and completely destroy all the fields and introduce another product. However, we still need a method of manufacturing. We'll still need to introduce these facilities into the nation. And between it and pharmaceutical companies taking an interest into this, it seems like there is a rather extreme approach for either crop. However, on the other hand, it would put a large stint into the funding for any insurgents groups.
The Helmand region is a small region in southern Afghanistan. The majority of all the United Kingdom's troops have been placed in this region to control it. 11 out of the 14 districts are now successfully controlled by the Afghanistan government here, where we have successfully rooted out most of the Taliban and insurgency. During the occupation, schools have opened and thousands of farmers have received aid.
The economy of Afghanistan was devastated by the 2001 invasion. This caused a drastic increase in opium production in order to pick up the slack. Since then, through foreign aid, economic conditions have improved. However, the presence of military coalition forces is still vital in order to ensure further progress in economic conditions.
British forces also face difficulties. The British troops in Afghanistan have limited access to manpower and equipment. Also, the British people no longer want us to remain active in Afghanistan. Then, the Afghan people themselves fear retribution from the Taliban, thus they are more difficult to cooperate with. Aside from that, efforts in financial aid are even slowed. Then, solving the problem with opium is a long, expensive, uphill struggle.
Despite all the setbacks presented to us over the years, the UK is still making significant progress in the Helmand region of Afghanistan. We still seek to accomplish many goals since the invasion of Afghanistan. This includes rooting out any corruption amongst officials, as well as putting a stint onto the drug trafficking and production process, and in turn finding economic alternatives for the Afghanistan people to take over the dominant poppy crops. Through the help of aid, programs encouraging growth in education and healthcare may make way for more promising conditions. It is well within our interest to assist the nation with the help of our allies to provide a significant level of security in order to make way for progress in terms of the economy and the rebuilding of the core infrastructure within Afghanistan.